request the dignitaries to light up the lamp. I request the dignitaries to take the stage, please. The stage program will commence with the national song. Soumita will lead us. Please rise for the national song.
Vande Mataram Sujalam Sufalam Malayaja Shitalam Sasya Shyamalam Mataram Vande Mataram Subrajotsna Pulakitayamini Pullakusumita Drumadala Shobhini Suhasini Sumadhura Bhashini Sukhadam Varadam Mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram.
Good afternoon. Hearty welcome to you, sir, and to all of you. It's an absolute pleasure and delight to have Sri M amongst us today to talk about what you just heard, understanding reality through Upanishadic Way. As you know, every single individual on this campus is engaged in a craft of some kind or the other to just understand reality. Whether you pursue it through science or spirituality, the goal seems to be the same. Understanding what the truth is, understanding what reality is, understanding what our place in this universe is. It's also beautiful to realize that we have a heritage which has brought out so much of knowledge for this world. It's a matter of honor for each of us to realize what kind of heritage we hold. It is indeed very sad that some historical distortions, I must say, have aided to our misunderstanding of our own past, of our own heritage. Also, it's true that much of what we had gained as knowledge has remained away from us, not accessible to us for a long time. The knowledge revolution is bringing all of that back. And along with that, you can see the surge of pride in India for its heritage. And that's the first thing that we need as a society, as a culture, to assert ourselves in this world. This is also the country that teaches you, this is also the culture that teaches you Vidya Dadati Vinayam. that the more scholarly you are, the more scholarship you have, the more vinamra you should be. That ethos, I think, is uniquely Indian. At least you don't see that reflected in the rest of the world. With that kind of grounding in our cultural values, when you pursue knowledge, it has a completely different dimension. And I'm sure that all of you are eager to hear Sri M talk about that. So I'm not here to be an interruption between you and him. I'm here just to welcome you, a heartfelt welcome to Indian Institute of Science campus, both for Sri M and for all of you, to this evening of peaceful, thoughtful knowledge sharing. Welcome again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I now request Professor Navakant Bhatt to formally introduce us to today's speaker, Sri M.
Very good evening to all of you. It's indeed an honor for me to formally introduce Sri M. Of course, he doesn't need an introduction. Dr. Krishnaswamy and I were planning to, schedule this lecture for more than a year. I'm glad that it is finally happening, right? So, a very brief introduction. Sri M is a renowned scholar, spiritual guide, social reformer, and educationist. Born in Kerala as Mumtaz Ali Khan, he was drawn to the mystical life of yogis and saints at a very young age. In quest of spiritual knowledge, he was drawn to Himalayas at the age of 19, where he found his spiritual guru, Sri Maheshwarnath Babaji. He spent the next 3.5 years with his guru, traversing through Himalayas, learning as per the traditional Guru-Shishya Parampara, to eventually attain the spiritual enlightenment. His transformational journey from a young seeker to a living yogi is fascinating story symbolized by single-minded discipline and dedication, which is nicely documented in his 2011 memoir, Apprenticed to a Himalayan Master, a yogi's autobiography. He returned to the plains on the advice of his spiritual master to start a family life and prepare for his life's mission, perhaps to highlight spiritual evolution is not disjoint from regular living. He spent several years working as a journalist and writer. He embarked on a mission of teaching and conducting dialogues with people across the country much later. His indefatigable energy also saw him embark on Walk of Hope. I guess that video was played a while ago, in which he traversed from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, spanning more than 7,000 kilometers, for peace and harmony. Today, in the milieu of spiritual cults, Sri M is a rare exception. Down-to-earth person, imbibing the true Vedantic traditions. To quote his guru, quality, not quantity matters. Spiritual evolution is individual and cannot be a mass phenomenon. No meditation technique franchises can do much good. Each individual is special. No poster blitz and poster wars when your work starts. Over to you, Shriya.
This should be on. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvina Vaditamashtuma Vidvishavai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let me start by addressing the dignitaries who are here for 1 minute. Charu ji. I start with the lady first because it was a I won't say a surprise, pleasantly, that we started the prayer song with Vande Mataram. There was a time when Vande Mataram was not sung in scientific institutions. We have gone back to our days of glory now. So, then of course, Dr. Rudra Pratap, who's the director of the institute, who welcomed me, and Dr. Bhatt, who I've known for some time now, and it was his encouragement, apart from Dr. Krishna Swami, who introduced me to him, that has brought me here today. I'm very sorry, sir, you were looking for dates, and I was out of dates, and finally we found one. Thank you very much. And there is a young man, Mr. Navneet, sitting there, who is involved in healthcare through nano research. And all our friends, the secretary of the Satsang Foundation and other good friends who are here. Without much ado, I think I should go into the subject now. First of all, I was taken straight to the nano department. Having seen what is happening there, I'm awed, actually, that people go so they asked me to write something in the visitor's book. I said, I'm awed that you are dealing with Shushma and taking it to Brihat from a little bit to up there, which means it's almost like the description of the Supreme Being as Anuraniyam, smallest of the small. Anyway, so today's subject is understanding reality, seeking reality, the Upanishadic way. Yeah. So we have to look at two things: seeking reality and the Upanishadic way. Okay. Now let me start with the mantra that I chanted before we started, to show, you may know, but just to make it clear that the ancient way of looking at finding the truth was not by just a set of beliefs, but through inquiry. The famous prayer, Asato ma sadgamaya, take me from the unreal to the real. This is what we all search for in some way or the other, although we have our own definitions of reality, which is okay, because each human being, because of their life and what they're exposed to and the training they have different ideas about reality. I can understand that. Okay, fine. But the prayer is, lead me from the unreal to the real. So that here it means, is there something which is absolutely real and where there are no more any arguments? There's nothing to do about. So that is the prayer. It also says, Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, which means this reality that we seek is considered to be the light that completely removes the darkness of ignorance. So, when this happens, what happens? Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Take me from death to immortality. This is the whole dialogue between this little boy Nachiketas and the great Lord of Death Yama in the beautiful Upanishad called the Katha Upanishad. We are not going into that. We need to have several sessions to deal with an Upanishad. A small talk, I'm just giving you guidelines. The mantra which I chanted, this is the modus operandi actually of finding the truth, and it is also done in laboratories. Please, I want to make you understand that the truth or the reality which Vedanta talks about is not some theoretical thing which is manufactured by a mind which is thinking too much. It's actually a practical. Yoga is the part of this ancient wisdom which leads us into understanding the truth. So it's a fact, it's nothing to do with theories. Well, there are several theories because there are many schools of thought. One of the most ancient, of course, is Sankhya of Kapila. I don't know if you know it, but Sankhya does not even have a belief in Ishvara. It's an atheistic philosophy. Well, as opposed to Advaita, it's dualistic. There is Purusha and there is Prakriti. Well, it believes in a spirit, which is Purusha. I don't know whether it can be defined as spirit in our usual way of referring to the spirit, but the essence, and Prakriti is that which surrounds it. Then there is Vedanta, Purvamimamsa, and then there is the Darshana of Yoga, which is largely derived from Sankhya. Now the use of yoga is that it is the practical thing, which is, when I say yoga, don't think of yoga of only standing on your head. I mean, that's only one part of yoga. This time, for the first time, I went to Moscow, and I was very surprised that in the locality where I lived, just now about a month ago, in this little locality where I was in the heart of Moscow, there were 7 yoga studios. And the girls must be happy. There were more number of young girls with their golden hair. I was reminded of Kapila, because the definition of Kapila is golden haired. Maybe Kapila was blonde, who knows. So, they were all blonde, and they were most of them standing with their heads down and shaking their legs, and so on. The subject of the talk was yoga beyond asanas. Asanas is also part of yoga. Ashtanga yoga is only the third part. There is yama, niyama, then asana, then there is much more to go till you reach samadhi. Now again, let me clarify the word samadhi. Doesn't mean a place where people are buried after death. Samadhi is a superconscious state of mind which comes when the mind is made absolutely tranquil. So in the Bhagavad Gita, if you read, at the end of each chapter, what I'm trying to say, while there is theory and there is an intellectual attempt to understand, there is also a practical part like your lab in which you can experiment systematically, step by step. This is yoga. The other is the whole body of literature we have. We also need, like, we study a lot before we start the research, right? So this is there. Now, if you look at the last part of the Gita, there is an expression at every end of every chapter which shows how yoga is linked to the philosophy, to Vedanta. It says this is the Gita, iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita. That much we can understand in Sanskrit, no? Unfortunately, wherever I go, I keep telling people, start Sanskrit teaching classes everywhere. In Berlin, there are 2 chairs for Sanskrit. What about our university? Anyway, so it says, iti Srimad Bhagavad. This is the Bhagavad Gita. Upanishads. It says it is an Upanishad. And Brahma Vidyayam, where one understands the knowledge of the supreme reality. That is, and then Yoga Shastri. This is the science of yoga, by which that which is discussed in the Upanishad as Brahma Vidya is understood. And then Krishna Arjuna Samvade. It's a dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, although most of the time it's only Krishna talking. Most chapters is Sri Bhagavan Vacha. So this is important. That's why I started with this mantra. It is usually chanted before all satsangs, before all discussions. But unfortunately, we chant, but we sometimes don't know what we are chanting. It's like being able to write by heart the molecular links of an organic chemistry equation on the board and not knowing what we have written. The mantra is Sahana Bhavatu. May you and I be protected. Protected from distraction, protected from the vagaries of nature. Now if there was an earthquake, we can't sit here and talk peacefully. So protection from physical as well as mental distractions. So that, and physical health. So that, now the next one is exactly about health. Sahano bhunaktu. May you and I be nourished properly. Physical nourishment, good food is required, proper food is required. And spiritual nourishment, we need the proper atmosphere where we are taught exactly what to do. Saha viryam karavavahai. May the vigor in us, the virya in us increase. In you and me, please note the word saha. Means you and me. It's not only me, it's also you. I could have said I and you, but I am deliberately saying you and me, giving more importance. So, this saha is an important word. That means, wait, we haven't finished. Tejasvina vaditamastu. May the tejas of the spiritual illumination, the light, the fire in us increase. Ma vidvishavahai. Let us not quarrel with each other. Which means, when one studies the Upanishads or the ancient texts, when the teacher is teaching the student, there is a debate or a discussion, and it's called a samvad, a dialogue, but not a quarrel. When you say argument, it means that I have concluded this is right. You have concluded that is right. And you and I are trying to meet. We cannot meet because we have already concluded. So here it means, can we together sit down and try to figure out what is this all about? What is this asat and what is this sat which we are discussing in Vedanta? Now, the question of reality comes. The Upanishadic way of looking at reality is slightly different from the normal way we think of reality. Of course, I think if you go into science deeply, not just Newtonian physics of the practical things we need, of course it's also useful, but if you go deeper and deeper into science, you'll probably understand also what this is all about. This definition of reality. Upanishad says that what you think is real may not be real. And what you think is not real may be real. Maybe is enough for the time being. How do you explore it? Through study, through understanding, through practices which have been prescribed, by which you go deeper into the layers and layers of your consciousness till you touch the core. So the question is, okay, example, reality. Well, I'm not very well equipped in physics to give you some example, but simple example like every morning we see the sunrise, right? Today also it rose. In spite of BBMP it rose. The sun rises. And then in the evening the sun sets. This is our normal experience. But you ask even a schoolboy who has done a little bit of astronomy, he will tell you that the sun neither rises nor sets. The earth is moving. But what do we see? We see the sunrise and we see the sunset. So what is the instrument of perception? The eye. So can we believe what we see? That is the next question. Because there is a usual expression, seeing is believing. I am saying seeing may not be believing. Because if you actually see, you don't have to believe. It's already there. Belief is when I don't know, I need to believe. So, is this something which we don't question? Is that we think, oh, this is real. Is it really? Okay. If it is real, is it permanent? This is the question in Vedanta. How permanent? How many more years you think M is going to stand here and talk, or anywhere else? Some more years? After that, where is M? Gone. So, if something is impermanent, the Vedantic question is, if something is impermanent, can it be real? However, when it is there, it is real. It's not as if it's not real now, but since it is going to disappear at some point, it is not in the absolute sense real. That's what I mean. Okay, one example. The other, we dream, all of us dream, right? I hope everybody dream. Night dream, if not daydream, and so on, we dream. Now, this is a subject of discussion in one particular Upanishad, which is the smallest of the Upanishads, which has only 12 verses, called the Mandukya Upanishad. Mandukya simply means frog, but we won't go into that. Why it's called a frog? Certainly there can't be a rishi called a Manduk. So anyway, so in the Mandukya Upanishad, the subject of the discussion is very simple. What are the three common states of consciousness through which all human beings pass, which is common to all? And if having established that, is there something other than that? Now, consciousness cannot be measured with instruments. You can measure the mind because you have the waves, gamma waves, beta waves, alpha waves. You can't measure consciousness. It is, by definition, is immeasurable. That which cannot be measured. So, the Upanishad deals with the three states of being which is common to all of us. And the question, is there something beyond these three? And if there is, where is it? The reality. So why is it called the reality? Because according to the Upanishad, when you dream, when you are in a dream, you don't think it's a dream. We don't think it's a dream. It's a reality. Every now and then I get emails saying, yesterday I saw you in a dream, sir. I said, please, it's a dream. Forget it. But I don't want to encourage this. So, because tomorrow they may say, you came in a dream and told me to do this, so I did this. I said, I'm not responsible, it's your dream. So, in dream state, you really do not know that you're dreaming. My attempt is to demystify many of these things which are actually very scientific and which have been covered with too much clutter. Go back, I say, go back to the Upanishads. In clarity of thought, I think until today we cannot compare anything with this, in clarity of thought. So in the dream, you think it is real. If a tiger is chasing me in the dream, you know how real it is. And even when I wake up, I'm looking, where's the tiger? I'm still perspiring, the heart is beating, all the symptoms are there. But when I wake up, there is no tiger. Now the Rishi is asking a very simple question. Now you think you are not dreaming, but in a waking state, Jagrata Avastha. How do you know? Maybe one day you will stretch your hands and say, oh my God, what a long dream. If you say, no, it can't be, then the dream cannot be a dream. Or, put in other words, if dream is real while dreaming, and waking is real while waking, and waking is not real when you are dreaming, then these are all relative states of mind, consciousness. I won't say consciousness because I reserve the word consciousness for the pure essence which is a witness of all the three states and which is called Turiya. It is not called Turiya, but that witness, pure witness is Turiya. So, the ancient king Janaka, who is famous in Purana, in the Ramayana, as Sita's father, he had a dream. When he dreamed that he had become a beggar. Not become, he was a beggar in the dream. And he was hungry and painful and looking for food and nobody was giving him food and he was in trouble. And then he woke up. He found himself lying in his palace, in his beautiful bed. It occurred to him, now tell me, what is this? Am I a beggar or am I a king? Because what if the dream had stretched for a long time? I might have been a beggar for a longer period of time. Now because it is short and I've come back, I think this is... So when Yajnavalkya, the great Rishi, his guru came, he asked him this question, sir, please tell me, actually what am I? Am I a king or am I a fakir? So Yajnavalkya explains to him. He says, dream waking state, both are relative to each other and therefore are not absolute. Then there is a third one, which is common to all of us. Tell me. I hope people are not in that now. I'm not so boring, I hope. It's called Sushupti, which means deep sleep. In fact, among the description of the lokas, or the different stages of consciousness, of being, Swarga is considered to be Sushupti. Bhur, Bhuva, Swa. Swa is absolute deep sleep. Why? Because there is no outer cognition. There is no inner cognition. One doesn't even know that one is sleeping. But one is enjoying in one's pure state. The Mandukya goes about it in a very subtle way, which doesn't mean that you can attain Turiya through deep sleep. Then it would have been very easy. In fact, there are lots of people who say they are meditating but are in Sushupti. So, unfortunately, we can't get there through Sushupti. So, the Upanishad describes it beautifully by saying that the three states which are common to all human beings, while waking and dream are relative to each other, are not absolute, therefore cannot be real. And then you have the deep sleep, where nothing, you're not aware, and you're not conscious. However, it's very blissful. When we wake up in the morning, we usually say, if it was a good sleep, that was a blissful sleep. So there is a remembrance of the bliss, but at that point one doesn't remember. But there is a remembrance, there is an entity that remembers somewhere. So, Yajnavalkya explains to Janaka that entity which is aware of the bliss of sleep, but is not aware when you are fast asleep, that is the only true reality, which is the witness, the sakshi of all this. And that when you touch, you're in Turiya. It's almost impossible to explain this in a way, because it is as if in deep sleep you're awake. This is called Samadhi. You are to all other intents and purposes deeply in Sushupti, in sleep. But there is the awareness of that bliss. Once that is touched, everything else becomes insipid. Now there is also one more point to note here, that this state is called Turiya, where one is pure witness without any cognition this way or that way, but completely in bliss. It is because of our sensation of this blissfulness that we hate to wake up in the morning. Keep alarm, you switch it off again, and again it rings again. Because who wants to get out of this wonderful? Please, I'm not saying you should sleep forever. This is just a comparison, a pointer to show that there is a layer of consciousness, which is the essence of consciousness, actually, of which all other forms of consciousness are modifications. Okay. Now this is from the psychological consciousness point of view. Now even from the point of view of physical science, I think I also started my journey, I'm not a scientist, but I started my journey with Newtonian physics. Every action is an equal and opposite reaction. Atom is the smallest particle and so on. Because when we were in school, that's all that we knew. And there is the periodic table and so on and so forth. There's electron, neutron and so on and so forth. Fortunately, we had a very good science teacher, so I can't forget that. So Gopalakrishna Iyer sent me out of the class many times because I couldn't remember the periodic table. So anyway, it helped. So this is our science. But those who have gone deeply into physics, the other day I was reading some of the observations of Einstein. I was amazed. One of the things he stated was really amazing. He said, imagination is more important than intelligence. I was shocked. Anyway, we'll leave it. We won't go into imagination right now. Controlled imagination is good. Imagination run riot, we need treatment. So, it's a great instrument if you use it properly. And yoga is also the science, especially tantra. Not so much yoga pure form, but yoga tantras are the science of how to catch your imagination and use it as you want it, not allow it to run riot. But you need a lot of imagination. Only those who have that kind of imagination should enter into that path. Otherwise it's going to be difficult for them. Anyway, so as you go deeper into physics, then finally you come to, I'm sorry, if I'm wrong you have to point me out, you are the scientist, not me. We come to this point where you come to the quantum. I'm deliberately not using the word quantum particle because nobody knows. If you go deep in physics, you find that then you're dealing with quantum mechanics and quantum whatever it is. And I don't know, I'm sure those who are doing science here will know this, but others don't know, that you actually cannot see quantum in any microscope. Electron microscope cannot see it. It's a wrong idea some people have. You can only see it through reactions, the reactions it has. People ask me, you can't see Brahman. I say, you can't see quantum particle. What are you talking about? So, then what happens is, I think some scientists like David Bohm, some physicists, went to the extent of saying something which I'll come to. Go into. What you begin to realize is when you are supposing or thinking that this little unit is a particle, it suddenly behaves like a wave. You think it is a wave, and then in the next reaction it is behaving like a particle. Nobody for sure knows whether it's really a wave or a particle. So from absolute certainty of every action as an equal and opposite reaction, we have come to this realm of uncertainty, which is wonderful. It is the certainty that prevents us from understanding the reality. Uncertainty means the brain allows itself to open up and say, let me find out. I don't know. Look around. All great scientific discoveries came because somebody said, I don't know. If somebody said, I knew, then there would be no other experiment. In fact, the Upanishad says very beautifully, he who thinks knows, knows not, and he who knows not knows. Beautiful statement. Because the reality which we are seeking is so expanded and expansive and unconditional that this little brain of ours can go up to a certain point, look at it and say, oh, it could be this, and come back. Because by nature, it has been quite limited. Reason? We have only 5 instruments of perception. We don't have any other instrument of perception. We have our eyes, which see. The Upanishad, chakshu. And there is shrotra, that is the ear that hears. Then there is the tongue that tastes. And what else? Which is why sometimes we like people because they have good perfume sprayed. So the nose, and then you have to touch. These are our 5 instruments of perception. Based on this, we form our... Now here, as you go deeper into science, there are other instruments of perception, which is when you go into quantum, these things cannot see it. Now there's we can't see nanoparticles. Dr. Bhatt was saying that it is smaller, infinitesimally smaller than a human hair. Maybe it's as the size of a gene, perhaps. It is so small. The Yogi calls it Shushma. And the central nervous system which deals with reality is called Sushumna. Anyway, so these are the 5 senses of perception, instruments of perception that we have. And they can give you wrong results or limited results. Why? Because your eyes cannot see more than a certain limit, right? I see you in this shape, sir, because I have a certain kind of eye. My lens in my eye is of a certain kind, convex lens, so I see you as this. And if I'm colorblind, I may not see the bright green and pink that you're wearing. I may think it is black and white. Instrument of perception, right? Now imagine a housefly, common housefly. It is supposed to have a compound eye, many eyes put together. How will it see us when it looks at us? Maybe it sees us like a Kathakali fellow on the stage. How do we know? We don't know. Really, we don't know. We know the world only through the sense engagement, through our instruments of perception. So really we don't know what the world is in reality. We know only the impressions given to us by our sense. This is what I'm trying to say. This is what the Upanishad is saying. I'm not saying this is 2000 years ago they said it. I don't know how they experimented on it, what they did, we don't know. So, when this happens, so therefore I get very limited inputs. My inputs are limited by the fact that my instruments of perception are limited. And then out of this impression, I manufacture what I call the rational blueprint. It cannot be perfect. So, is there another way? This is the question which Upanishad asks. Is there another way? Yes. The way is, now it's connected to yoga. There are other instruments of perception in our human system itself. You don't have to search for it anywhere else, which are usually dormant and which can be activated. If these can be activated, then your whole input becomes larger and multidimensional, not just the three-dimensional world that you see. And when someone who has that increased perception sees that, the other person may find it hard to believe that it exists because we are limited by our instruments of perception. So when the inputs increase, naturally your blueprint becomes larger and larger till it becomes so expansive it cannot be defined. As long as we stick to our senses, it is not possible to ascend beyond this limitation. So, there are practices by which these dormant parts of our mind or our brain, if you want to call it, because there is no place where you can see the mind as of now. You can see only the brain. So, are there dormant parts of the brain which can be activated? For our daily life, we need only 20% of the brain's function. What about the rest? What about the endocrine system? What about the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, and so many other systems? What about the left and right vagus nerve, which we think we cannot control actually? But yogis say, yes, it can be. So, the whole science of yoga and the theory given to us by the Upanishads is an examination of what reality is. Can we accept reality as it is, or is there beyond, something beyond? This is the Upanishadic way of looking at reality. And this is the subject which is for today. So now I'm going to stop. We have done more than half an hour, 40 minutes. And then if you have any, not argument, but samvad, dialogue, then we are ready for it. We can give another half an hour for that. Is that okay? I think I shouldn't stretch it too long. We will see symptoms of shushupti. Thank you very much. Om Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us with reality. We have some time for question and answer. So please raise your hand and our volunteers will reach you. And the request is to keep the questions short and relevant.
Do you have a microphone? Do you have a microphone?
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful lecture. I came to know about you maybe 2-3 years ago, simply because, not because interest in you, but because interest in J. Krishnamurti, which I have been reading since my PhD days, let's say last 25-26 years. And in some context, it was mentioned that you got in touch with him during the last part of your journey. And you spent time with him, which is not too much revealed, but you have slightly revealed some of the aspects not covered in other texts of J. Krishnamurti. Ever since I picked the first book of his in one of my friend's hostel room, Education and the Significance of Life, so I don't know, I have never been away from him. At the same time, I have never understood him yet.
That is the problem.
Right.
Not you, I mean, generally.
Yes. As if, when you read him, as if you are listening to something very vast, very close to what you get a feeling when you read the Upanishads, which you also, in spite of all your talking, we may nod your head and keep quiet while listening, but will not absorb it. It doesn't go anywhere. In the same sense, you can say that reading him is at par. Since you have gone through both the journeys, the traditional way, going through the Himalayas, and on the direction of your, as you have written in the book, of your guru, you were asked to go and spend time with J. Krishnamurti. You did that, and then you left and started your own journey. My curiosity is, if you could elaborate, because one of the statement of his, which I cannot simply throw it away because I don't understand it, when he made a statement like, truth is a pathless land, which is also in some way captured in the Upanishad statements. Can you elaborate your discussion or your living with Krishnamurti, and so that we get more enlightened? I cannot pose the question very accurately, but perhaps you get a sense of what
I
I want.
get what you are saying.
Thank you.
In fact, at the outset, I need to tell you that it is precisely because of this kind of thought, which the thing you were discussing, that I'm working very hard. I've not been able to finish it, but because there are so many other things going on and so on. A book called The Upanishads and J. Krishnamurti. I'm actually working on this. I'm not saying that you should wait for that, but I'll try to explain a little bit. See, the thing with Krishnamurti is, many people think that he was against all tradition and so on. But the fact is, he also at one time passed through a lot of traditional training with the Theosophists. In fact, there is one book, if you read, which he wrote at that time, you'd be shocked. It's called The Lives of Alcyon. So from my understanding, this life of his was a culmination of 1,000, may not be 1,000, this may be a number, where he had become completely free of all props. But I think for a person who begins, you need some kind of prop or a lead to move towards that. When you go there, you can discard it. But till then, you need it. The other thing is, therefore, the problem was that he always spoke from that point. And for the normal man, found it very difficult to understand what he's saying. That's also true. But that doesn't mean he was saying anything wrong. It's okay. But it is a little difficult. I'm going to quote something from the Upanishad. Krishnamurti was again against quotations, but I love quotations. Why not? So let me quote. We like Shakespeare, we like the Upanishads. The quotation is from the Keno Upanishad. In manasa namanyute yanahur manomatam, that which even the mind cannot reach, that is the supreme reality. Tadeva tvam vidvi, understand, O disciple, this truth. Nedam yad idam, nothing that you worship here. This is the Upanishad. It is not Krishnamurti. Shruti. So, but to get there, we need to move. And in Krishnamurti's life, he had moved to a certain place, he had molded his life with the theosophists, and maybe previously with many lives. And then the time came when he could break the mold and be free. So till then, we need some molds. And the traditional way of teaching is how to approach this way. Plus, Krishnamurti might have been, could have been, not a normal person as we know, like the comparison is Ramana Maharshi. Everybody tells me Ramana Maharshi did not have a guru. So I said, but we are not Ramana Maharshis, right? So you didn't have, I'm not saying you should have a guru. I'm only saying that don't compare. Comparison, again, if you read Krishnamurti, is one of the things that really makes us completely disjointed. Ramana Maharshi was born, and in his young age itself, without reading any scriptures, he discovered he was not the body. And all his sadhana then was to confirm this. Everybody is not born like that. So everybody cannot be Ramana Maharshi. We say he didn't have a teacher, but according to me, I think, this may be speculation, that in many lives he must have had many teachers, and this was the culmination when he broke through. Breakthrough happened now. So these are some of the things that we need to think about when we are dealing with Krishnamurti. The Upanishad says that supreme reality or the truth that you seek is not something that is there and I am here and I am moving towards it in a linear way of reaching it. If you say Isha Vashamidam Sarvam, that reality pervades everywhere. If it pervades everywhere, what do? I can't reach far and catch it. I can't travel towards it. Therefore, in some way you can say it is pathless. It's not as if the reality is there and I am here and I am going towards it. It's not possible. If it is here, then all going should cease before I find it. So there are many things which we need to look. I hope to elaborate upon this because there are other people also who might. This is a subject is deep, of course. Maybe one day you will read this book which I bring about. Or you can email me and we can discuss this matter before that. But before I stop, I want to tell you something interesting. One day in the talk, I was in the Indian headquarters of the Krishnamurti Foundation for some time in Chennai. One day in the course of this thing, Krishnaji got quite worked up. And he said, throw away all your books into the sea. There's nothing in them. The next day during the talk, he said, but I have read nothing of these things. None of these things. So I was a young man then and I thought this can't be let unquestioned. So not in public, I didn't want to because he was a big man and I'm nobody. So while he was going back to his room, I was supposed to take him back to his room. And I asked him, sir, no, actually I didn't ask him then because I thought he just finished the talk. So in the evening I went up with some oil for his knees. So I asked him, sir, for instance, if you are doing some work in organic things, he used to put Mahana and Nanotechnology for his knees. So I asked him, sir, first day you said, throw all your books. Okay. Because second day you said, I have not read any of them. So I think, sir, it's a forgive me, but it's a contradiction. If I say this in those days, it is okay, not now, because nobody will mind. But people take what you say as gospel truth. So it's a contradiction. One day you say, there's nothing. Next day you say, I haven't read them. Then he said, but I don't need them. I said, sir, that is a different story. Then you should have said that I don't need. But I must say that the man was so humble that he agreed. He could have said, oh, shut up. But he said, yes, sir, you're right. I think I should think carefully before I speak. Who will say that? I mean, it's not so easy to say. So these are some aspects which people don't know. They see the person sitting there talking and going off, and they don't know. You know what I mean? So I think you should continue to read Krishnamurti, but don't try and put tradition and Krishnamurti in kind of warfare. You read this and you read that. Yeah. Right. Thank you. Oh, many hands. There is time. Sir.
So I have a small question, sir.
Sir.
That is related to Upanishad thoughts. See, I have heard something about Uddala Karuni. He teaches to his son Shvetaketu.
To?
Can you please, Shvetaketu.
Shvetaketu.
Shvetaketu. Can you please throw some light on that issue?
So what is the question?
Some Uddala Karuni's thought on this, the same issue. I have heard something.
So tell me what you...
No, he says that Shvetaketu asks his father what is mind, how to understand that. Then he won't teach theoretically, but he suggests something to do fast and all.
Yes.
After some days of fast, he asks question, can you think now?
Yes.
Then Shvetaketu answers, no, I am unable to think properly like
Correct.
that. Then Uddala
Which
Karuni
Upanishad
tells-
is?
Chandogya.
Chandogya. Okay.
Then Uddala Karuni tells that is the mind, there is nothing beyond that like that.
Right.
So, can I get some more information about that?
Right. Okay. Now, Uddala Karuni's son goes to study about the truth from the Chandogya only and comes back. So the great Rishi asks him, so have you found the truth? He says, I think I have. He says, if you think you have, you haven't found it. Either you find it or you don't find it. Okay, so he said, let me set about making you understand this. There's a banyan tree standing there far away. He says, go to the banyan tree and bring me a seed from the banyan tree. So he brings it. Okay. He says, now you take off the rind of the banyan tree. So he removes the skin. What do you see? He says, I see the kernel of the seed, white kernel. He said, open it. He says, this is the way to find the truth, by peeling. What is obvious till you go to that which is not. So he doesn't say that, I'm telling you. So peel the kernel. So he opens the kernel. What do you see? I see these little seeds there, black seeds. He says, now take one of the seeds and peel it. With great difficulty, it's almost like nanotechnology, peeling the small part, black seed of a bag. So he peels it. He says, what do you see? He says, I see nothing. He says, it is from this nothing, which you think is nothing, that this whole banyan tree has come. That is your true essence. When everything else ceases, then you see the truth. When everything else is eliminated. This is Uddala Karuni's second discussion. So I think you connect with what I'm trying to say.
Sir, you wear so many hats like yogi, then social reformer.
Say that again.
Like you have experienced so many things, like as a yogi, then social reformer, then educationist. I'm just curious to know that how did that journey happen? Like, which one came first and which one came second and third one? And was there any reasoning behind it? Like, why did you choose those things in that particular order? Thank you.
A big question, but I'll take it. It started with my inquiry into the truth. That was the first step. when I was young, when I was around 19 years old, when people think of building up a career for themselves, you should, I'm not discouraging you. I ran away from, again, don't run away from home. It's very tough. I ran away from home. And will it come back? The mic is working. Wow. So, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. So, at that age, as I said, when people are looking what to do, my only intention in mind, because by then I was preparing myself for this, was that I should find a teacher who can lead me to the absolute truth. I don't want anything else. This occurred to my mind. Maybe I'm not normal, or God knows. I sometimes think if I was in the West, they might have put me in for treatment. So anyway, I started thinking of this. And then I went off to the Himalayas. I met my master, Maheshwarnath Babaji. I spent years with him, some years with him, and then I came back, but he was in touch till he passed away. I learned something very important for my life, and my life was modeled after that according to this experience which I had. And the experience was that I discovered that there is a spark of divinity in my heart. When I say heart, not the organ that pumps blood. I'm talking about the core of my being. I found a light, amsha, you can call it, a small spark of something which is all-pervading. Having seen that, I also began to see that it is in everybody. Whether that person is aware or not aware, it's in everybody. So, if it is in everybody and they are not aware of it, then I thought it is my duty to make them aware of it. Now, you can't simply go and tell somebody to become aware of that spark inside you. They'll think this guy has gone completely crazy. So I started with education. According to me, education is not just filling yourself with information. It's the understanding of one's inner being is the ultimate education that one can have. If that is understood, it's very easy to understand other things. So this is how the education part started. I must say in some way I was also influenced by Krishnamurti, but I was also influenced by the great rishis who had their universities in the olden days, Nalanda, Takshashila, 1,000 people used to come from all over the world to understand knowledge. Today we need to go to Harvard to understand. It's okay to go, no problem. But I'm thinking I have a dream, One day we'll again come back there. And people will come from all over the world to study at these universities. Here we have the Science Institute. It should become so great and excellent that people from all over the world will come seeking. This is some kind of a dream that I have. Anyway, so this is how the education started. Then social reform. One thing that happens when you touch the core of your being is that your compassion also develops. Compassion is a big word, at least you become kind. If you say the same spark is in him and me, and I'm not kind to that person, it makes no sense. It's just a theory. If you really do that, you feel that person's grief as well as his happiness. So I said, let's try now a small way with this physical body, how to asajj some of these little pains that people have. From there, the social work started. So it all started with me trying to discover myself. Let me add that there might be people who have discovered themselves who are not doing social work. There are possibilities. That doesn't mean anything. I'm saying about myself.
Sir,
Sorry.
yeah, actually, I got introduced to you by one of my school teachers. So I read your book, Apprenticeship to Himalayan Master.
Who is your teacher? I want to know the culprit.
Okay. He's a Mukesh Mehta from Bhiwani, Haryana. Now, the thing is, I want to ask you, discussed about the teleportation in your book, and that is the reality you felt, and it is hard to believe for the other people. I want to know, like, I want you to share the experience. Was it some deep consciousness state, or you like felt your body like going one place to another? And in one mention is that you have met many neurologists and like even the Telltale Brain writer, this Ramachandran. So I want to know your experience. I'm lucky to meet you here.
What's your name?
Vikas Arora. Thank you.
Okay, now first of all, even though I know V.S. Ramachandran, he also is very worried about this part of my life. He can't really come to accept it. But that's okay. That's fine. He's a neurologist and so on, which is wonderful. One thing I want to tell you is I have not written anything in my... That you have to take only my word. There's no way I can prove it to you. So wait. So I have not written anything in my autobiography which I have really not experienced. Okay? Now, you can question the experience, whether I was under the influence of a drug or whether I was... No. I'm not joking. Whether I was under the influence of a drug or actually it was a mental experience. You know, sometimes when we sleep, we feel that we are floating and then we are coming back again. Mind. But this was not mind, it was as physical as I am sitting here and talking to you. I know it's difficult to believe, so therefore I am saying that there are many more things under the sun, on this earth, which we need to look in. It's a good thing to be skeptical, no question about that. You should be. But you should also be ready to experiment. Because thought has no physical limitations. It's speed. See, to be simple, you're sitting here and suddenly you're thinking of your girlfriend. You have one. Unfortunate. Anyway, so then I would have given you proper example. So you're sitting here. You think of whoever, Ambika or Rosie, and your mind is immediately there. Speed of thought. You don't have to, you see. In the same way, there are realms of being in us which are connected more with thought than physical being. There, a thought instantly becomes an act. It's something like that, roughly. Unless I take you or you see me going, there's no way. We have another 5 minutes, so I'll give one more. Yeah. He has a microphone, I can't do anything.
Okay. Hari Om, sir.
Hari.
Like what we do, like we do go with the Upanishads. So we feel like, we need to touch the Supreme Being and
yes.
But I will be like, I say like, I will take myself for example. I will be having a lot of jignasa to get the Supreme Being. So somewhere, like, I will drop from my path.
Somewhere?
Somewhere. And
You drop off?
I drop off. So after some time, like I feel, okay, that's my orientation. Okay. I lost.
Okay.
But what to do? But with the circumstances, we need to live in the world. We born by the world.
Correct.
But we need
I'm
to live
living in the world.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So we need to live in the world, but we should. I think like we need to like evolve ourselves with the Upanishadic way. How to do that actually? It's
okay. It need not be necessarily the Upanishadic way. It could be the Bhagavad Gita way, or it could be the Narada Bhakti Sutra way. It could be, there are many ways. If it is infinite, then there must be infinite possibilities. I am speaking of the Upanishad today because that is the subject. There must be infinite possibilities. If it is not infinite, then there can be only one possibility. If it is infinite, there are many possibilities. But I can understand your problem. It happens to many people. It has happened to me that it is tough. So when you go, at some point you get distracted. You go off to some other. The thing is that to come back again and again. There is no other way. There is no shortcut. If you're distracted, come back again. Don't allow it to happen. Okay, it happened, come back again. Don't allow it to take hold of you. Then you will succeed. It's like any other thing. Science, people experiment, many experiments go wrong. But those who stick to it finally find something, right? Even an inventor like Thomas Alva Edison tried 100 times to make the electric bulb. He failed 99 times. After the 100th attempt, he made the electric bulb. Today we just switch on and we can see. So, and once he was asked that he must be highly inspired to be such a great inventor. He had 100 inventions to his credit. He said, you'll be surprised. It is 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. So we should remember this even in spiritual practice, that it is possible that we may fall. We should stand up, dust ourselves and say, okay, let me start again. One day you will succeed. And before I stop, I must say that I really appreciate and love this mark you have put on your forehead. It's so beautifully and carefully done. I see 2 white straight lines and 1 red straight line. How do you do it? What is the technology? No, it can't be. How can you make it so straight?
I have a stick with that I will do it.
Okay. Thank you.
So actually
one more.
Yeah. In my childhood, I spent the days near to your place, near Madanpalli.
Oh, really?
There were caves, lot of.
How old are you?
I was till my 13 years I was there in the Mudimudugu.
Mudimudugu is close by. I know you. I know your family, I think.
Chalo. Thank you, sir. Narayana.
I think we can. Thank you very much. You said Narayana, I say Narayana.
Thank you, sir, for answering the questions. No, I will call them up. I request the dignitaries to take the dais. Now we have vote of thanks by Vignesh, which will be immediately followed by national anthem and high tea.
Shall I go ahead? Yeah. Is this guy? Take care of the. Yeah, please. Good evening, one and all. At Prastuta, we believe Indic thought can offer a fresh perspective to long-standing and contemporary scientific problems without diluting the methodological rigor. An engagement with our traditional knowledge systems, we believe, would not only benefit our scientific endeavors, but also keep us rooted to our civilizational values. Today's event is a small effort in this direction, and I feel Sri M, despite time constraints, has provided an excellent summary of the Upanishadic approach to understanding the truth. On behalf of Prastuta, I request Professor Rudrapratap to felicitate him. Thank you, sir. We all know what a dynamic personality Professor Rudrapratap is. When we approached him, he not only encouraged us, but also agreed to preside over today's event. We are grateful to you, sir. I request Charuji to felicitate Professor Rudrapratap. Sol. We are immensely thankful to Professor Navakanta Bhatt, who actively supported us at various stages in organizing today's talk. We hope you will support us in our future efforts too. I request Charuji now to honor Professor Navakanta Bhatt on behalf of Prastuta. can keep it here. Go ahead. Charuji has been a well-wisher and a big source of support for us. We are happy you could be with us today, ma'am. Thank you. I request Sushmita to felicitate her. We are thankful to Assistant Registrar Mr. Virana Kamar for permitting us to use this hall for the event. And on behalf of Prastuta, my heartfelt thanks to all the volunteers and well-wishers for their support and participation. And finally, I thank you all for your active participation. We hope you all will continue to support us in our future endeavors.